I feel like you've probably been there, right? You've visualized the dream life. You've read all the Neville Goddard and Florence Scovel Shin books until the pages are literally falling out.
Oh, absolutely. The classic stack on the nightstand.
Right. And you've done the morning affirmations, the vision boards, the intensive mindset work.
The whole routine.
Yeah, the whole routine. So why are you still staring at the exact same reality you had like a year ago?
Well, it is just a profoundly demoralizing place to find yourself. I mean, honestly, it's the exact inflection point where most people they just throw their hands up.
Yeah, they just quit.
Exactly. They assume the entire concept of manifestation is just a scam, or, which is actually far more damaging, they internalize that stall out.
Oh, like they blame themselves?
Right. They assume there is something fundamentally broken about their own frequency or their own energy.
And that feeling of being broken is exactly what we are tackling today. Because this deep dive is custom tailored specifically for you. We are diving into the stack of sources you sent us regarding the actual grounded mechanics of manifestation.
And this is such a crucial topic.
It really is. We're pulling apart a really uncomfortable truth hidden in this material about why our dreams stall out. The core of your sources focuses on this concept called the divine union.
It's just fascinating, by the way.
Yeah, it makes this rigorous case for the absolute necessity of balancing energetic internal work with actual physical 3D action. Okay, let's unpack this core problem.
We should probably establish right away that the insights in this material are not your typical breezy, just think positive thoughts kind of advice.
Why not? No, this gets deep.
It's a dense, challenging look at human psychology. It's a tough pill to swallow, frankly. The sources are essentially asking us to move out of this state of passive wishing.
Or we treat the universe like an Amazon Prime delivery service.
Yes, exactly. And instead, step into a state of active co-creation.
Right, because people are experiencing this massive disconnect. I mean, they are consuming mountains of content. They genuinely feel the elevated energy,
They can see the vision in their mind's eye with crystal clarity.
Right. But their physical reality just refuses to budge. So if the energy is right, why does the physical world stay completely frozen?
Well, the material identifies a very specific psychological trap that occurs, which it calls the pendulum swing.
The pendulum swing, okay.
Yeah. To understand this, we have to look at the baseline. Think about how the vast majority of people operate in their early lives and careers.
Oh, I mean, it's chronic hustle, right?
Exactly. It's a punishing hustle. They work themselves to the point of literal adrenal fatigue. They struggle, and they equate suffering directly with value.
Like, if you aren't bleeding for your goals, you just haven't earned the right to achieve them. The classic burnout grind.
Yes. And the kicker is, they often endure all of that without ever actually getting the financial or personal results they were agonizing over.
Which is just devastating.
The psychological toll is immense. So what happens to the architecture of someone's mind when they are in that exhausted state and they suddenly discover the concepts of energy and visualization?
It must feel like coming up for air after drowning.
That's exactly it. It is an immense, overwhelming relief. It soothes this deeply wounded part of their psyche that basically believed suffering was the only currency the world accepted.
Wow, yeah.
But because the relief is so intoxicating, they swing entirely to the opposite extreme of the pendulum.
So they go from total agonizing hustle to like total immovable passivity.
Completely.
They realize the current of the river can carry them, so
Right.
they just throw the oars overboard entirely and like take a nap in the back of the boat.
That is a perfect way to put it. And the uncomfortable truth about it in your sources is that this extreme relief slowly mutates into a subconscious entitlement complex.
Wait, really? Entitlement?
Yeah, the internal hidden narrative becomes, I have suffered enough in my life, I paid my dues in my 20s and 30s.
So now the universe owes me.
Exactly. The universe owes me, and I shouldn't have to lift a single finger. I did my time in the struggle, so now I get to just sit back, vibrate highly, and let the millions drop into my lap.
Okay, I have to push back on that a bit, though. Because isn't the fundamental premise of manifestation to stop forcing outcomes?
That's the tension, yes.
Like if I go out and start desperately taking action, doesn't that imply I lack faith in the vision? Doesn't taking action just plunge us right back into that toxic hustle culture we literally just escaped?
What's fascinating here is that this is the exact paradox the source material dismantles. The goal is absolutely not to return to the toxic, fear-based hustle.
Okay, so what is it then?
The trap here is using the vocabulary of manifestation as an excuse for spiritual bypassing.
Spiritual bypassing. We hear that term thrown around a lot, but what is the actual mechanism there? Like, how does manifestation become a bypass?
Well, the source argues that avoiding action under the guise of, just trusting the universe is actually a highly sophisticated psychological defense mechanism. It's a trauma response masked as spiritual enlightenment.
Wow. A trauma response.
Yeah, people are simply terrified of taking action because they don't trust themselves to make decisions or set firm boundaries or initiate massive life changes.
Because how they used to do it?
Exactly. That lack of trust stems from a deep, unhealed wound regarding how they historically take action. Their brain associates the very concept of action entirely with pain, rejection, and exhaustion.
So they spiritually bypass the physical steps just to avoid triggering that fear. They say, I'm letting the universe handle it, when really their nervous system is just completely paralyzed.
Precisely. They are paralyzed.
That makes a frightening amount of sense, actually. And if we are using spirituality to mask our fear of taking action, then our internal engine is fundamentally misfiring,
It is.
which naturally leads us to look under the hood. The sources do this fascinating breakdown of our inner energies. This brings us to the core of the divine union.
Right, so the material explains that every single human being, regardless of their biological sex or gender identity, possesses both an inner masculine energy and an inner feminine energy.
These are like the universal foundational polarities of creation.
Exactly. And you can see this duality mirrored directly in our physical brain anatomy, which is so cool.
Oh, you're talking about the lateralization of the brain, right? The two hemispheres.
That's the physical manifestation of it, yes. The right hemisphere is associated with the feminine polarity.
Which does what, exactly?
It governs intuition, holistic thinking, creativity, vision, emotion, and imagination. It's the receptive, nurturing aspect that connects to the unseen.
Like tapping into the quantum field.
Yes, in spiritual terms, it is the faculty that taps into that realm of infinite, subconscious possibilities and unformed ideas.
Got it. And the left hemisphere.
The left hemisphere represents the masculine polarity. It is the realm of logic, linear decision-making, planning, structure, boundaries, and initiation. It's the sheer force of will.
So, just to clarify, the feminine envisions the architectural blueprints of the dream house. And the masculine is the project manager who actually hires the contractors and, like, pours the concrete.
In a healthy, integrated person, yes. That's exactly how it works. But your sources provide crucial context about the environment we are actually trying to build this house in.
Right. The real world.
Yeah, we live in a 3D physical world. The material sometimes refers to this earthly plane as Gaia, a dense physical environment governed by gravity, time, and space.
And currently, this world is heavily dominated by hyper-intellectualized, wounded masculine energies.
Completely. Through centuries of societal structures, the patriarchy, and the historical suppression of the divine feminine, a massive energetic imbalance has literally been hardwired into our culture.
And because of that imbalance, the model of masculine energy we see rewarded, like in the corporate world or in media, is often a deeply distorted, wounded version.
It's all about dominating the competition, ruthless control, and extracting resources until everyone is just burned out.
Yeah, and because we've seen that wounded masculine modeled so consistently and probably operated in it ourselves by grinding ourselves to dust.
A massive portion of the population has developed a fundamental allergy to any masculine energy at all.
Right. Here's where it gets really interesting. It's like we've been eating heavily burned toast our entire lives.
Okay, I like this.
We've choked it down for decades. And finally, someone introduces us to a different way of eating, and we decide that bread itself is inherently evil.
Yes.
We associate the necessary masculine trait of taking action with the toxic burnt-out hustle we used to do, so we just shut that part of ourselves down completely. We just throw the bread away.
That analogy gets right to the heart of the source's central warning. When you throw the bread away, when you reject your own inner capacity for masculine initiation because of past trauma or societal conditioning, you pay an astronomical cost.
Which is what?
The source asserts that if you only rely on your feminine energy, you are leaving exactly half of your necessary creative tools in the toolbox.
Wow. So you are just sitting on a meditation cushion, doing your shadow work.
Digging through your repressed psychology.
Right, and pulling down brilliant ideas from the quantum field, which feels incredibly profound in the moment.
And it feels profound because it is necessary work. But without the masculine polarity to support it, it is completely ungrounded.
It has no anchor.
None. You cultivate these beautiful, world-changing visions, and you have this deep emotional resonance, but you possess zero mechanism to actually bring them into the dense physical 3D world.
Because by rejecting your inner masculine, you're actively suppressing the exact biological faculty designed to translate your dreams into reality.
Precisely. You're leaving half the tools behind.
Okay, realizing we were leaving half our tools in the toolbox is a massive wake-up call. But I really want to understand the actual mechanics of how these two sides are supposed to work together.
Sure.
Because, I mean, when I'm staring at a blank spreadsheet for a new business at 8 in the morning, my inner feminine and masculine aren't having a polite, balanced conversation.
No, of course not.
I just want to close the laptop and go back to sleep.
Mm.
So how do we get these energies to cooperate?
Well, the sources use a brilliant practical analogy to explain the mechanics of this divine union. To understand how they must operate together, think of your feminine energy as the gas and your masculine energy as the car.
The fuel and the engine block. Okay, let's unpack that.
The feminine energy is the life force. Some ancient traditions call this Shakti. It is that raw, buzzing, electrical current of creative vision.
It's the deeply emotional why behind what you want to manifest.
Exactly. You absolutely must have that volatile, combustible gas to fuel the vehicle. Without the feminine desire, there's no spark, no inspiration, no forward pull.
Right, but think about how an engine mechanically works. It takes tiny, volatile explosions of fuel and channels them into directed, forward momentum.
Yes, and without the thick, restrictive metal walls of the engine block, which represents the structure, the execution, the planning of the masculine, that feminine gas has nowhere to go.
It just evaporates into the air.
Or worse, it catches the driveway on fire.
Oh man, I see this constantly. People have a beautiful, vibrant vision for a creative project. They have gallons of gas.
But they're just sitting in the driveway inhaling the fumes.
Exactly. Wondering why they aren't at the beach yet? They are passively waiting for the universe to magically teleport a fully built car around them while they just sit there holding a bucket of gasoline.
It sounds absurd when you frame it that way, but that is the exact lived reality for anyone whose inner masculine remains dormant.
Yeah.
And the material highlights the severe danger of this state. If you find yourself perpetually procrastinating, feeling incapable of launching that project, or telling yourself you are just waiting for the universe to open a door,
Then what's really happening?
it is almost always because you are standing in harsh judgment of your inner masculine.
You're actively resenting the car.
You despise the car. So many people in the spiritual and self-development spaces put their feminine intuition on a towering pedestal.
They celebrate their vivid dreams and their emotional depth.
Right, but they take their masculine action taker, the part of them that needs to make the uncomfortable phone call, set the firm boundary with a toxic friend, or build the actual financial spreadsheet, and they lock him in a dark closet.
They strip that part of themselves of all respect.
Entirely.
Because the subconscious fear is that if they let the action taker out of the closet, he's instantly going to force them to work 80-hour weeks, ignore their health, and burn them out all over again.
That is the root fear. But as long as the car is locked in the garage, your high vibrational gas is utterly useless.
It just burns up.
Exactly. Internally, the source argues, your feminine and your masculine must operate as absolute equals. And there is a specific sequence to this harmony.
How does the sequence go?
The feminine receives the inspiration, feels the expansive joy of it, and then explicitly hands that vision over to the masculine.
Okay.
And the masculine's role is to look at that vision and say, I will build the structures, I will map the timeline, and I will physically move us through time and space to get there.
Man, if the universe provides the road and our inner feminine provides the combustible fuel, our inner masculine has to actually get behind the wheel and drive?
It's non-negotiable.
But what does turning the key in the ignition actually look like, psychologically? Like, how do we transition from just conceptualizing action to executing it in a way that manifests real results?
Your sources are incredibly rigorous about this, laying out a strict sequence to the manifestation process. It is a mechanical progression, not a magic trick.
Right.
It unfolds in 3 distinct steps. Step 1 is the energy shift. This is the internal work where you regulate your nervous system, change your limiting beliefs, and intentionally shift your baseline emotional state.
So that is pumping the gas. You
Yeah.
are building the internal pressure.
Yes, but it cannot stop there. Step 2 is the perspective shift.
Okay, what does that involve?
This is a fascinating psychological mechanism.
Yeah.
As your internal state changes, the reticular activating system in your brain physically alters what you perceive in your environment.
The RS.
Exactly. The thoughts you have organically change.
Yeah.
You suddenly notice a networking opportunity that was always there, but you were entirely blind to it when you were in a state of fear or resentment.
Ah, so your literal lens on the world recalibrates.
Oh.
The data you allow into your brain shifts.
Exactly. And that recalibration leads directly into step 3, which is action. The new perspective dictates entirely new behaviors.
So energy, then perspective, then action.
You shift your energy, your perceptual lens changes, and then you physically act on the new data you are seeing. That is the complete closed-loop formula for manifestation according to the material. Action isn't optional. It is the final crystallizing step of the equation.
The sources introduce a really compelling concept here, referring to physical action as an energetic vote. Can we explore the mechanics of that?
Yes, that concept might be the most pivotal insight in the entire stack of material you sent us. The premise is that every single choice you make, every physical action you take, and crucially, every action you actively avoid taking, is a literal energetic vote cast for your identity and your frequency.
Give me an example.
Suppose you do all the energetic work, you visualize the successful business, but then you avoid making the intimidating sales call. Or you visualize a healthy relationship, but you fail to enforce a necessary boundary with an ex.
Oh, wow. In those moments, you are fundamentally out of alignment.
Right. Your physical actions are casting heavy votes for your old, fearful reality, even while your internal energy is desperately wishing for a new one.
And the universe responds to the vote you physically cast, not just the wish you hold in your mind.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean? If action is the final required vote, and every physical choice cements our reality, how do we repair this broken machinery?
You brought the big question.
How do we get over that deep-seated, trauma-informed fear of the burnt-out hustle so we can actually start casting the right votes?
The solution presented by the material is profound, but it requires heavy lifting. We have to actively redefine and heal our relationship with our inner masculine, and the mechanism for doing that is a conscious, active process of forgiveness.
Forgiving the masculine. I mean, that sounds incredibly abstract. If someone has spent a decade dealing with toxic patriarchy in the corporate world, how do they mechanically sit down and forgive that?
It requires separating the tool from the person who misused it. We must forgive the toxic, wounded masculine energies we've encountered so they stop holding our own potential hostage.
Okay, I see.
That means mentally separating the concept of action from the abusive boss you had. It means untangling the concept of structure from the generational trauma of ancestors who had to work themselves to death just to survive.
And we probably have to forgive the times we ourselves wielded wounded masculine energy against our own bodies, right? To push past our physical limits.
Precisely. We've all done it.
It's like refusing to use a hammer to build your dream house just because someone once hit you with a hammer. We have to forgive the hammer.
That is a perfect distillation.
We have to realize the tool of initiation isn't evil just because wounded people used it to cause harm.
Yes. You cannot fully embrace and utilize an energy that you secretly hate, fear, or resent. The psychological goal of this forgiveness is to release the grip of the wounded version so you can safely embrace what the Source calls the secure divine masculine.
So if the secure masculine isn't controlling, forcing, or dominating, what are the actual characteristics of it? How does it behave differently?
The material describes the secure masculine as a beautiful, steady, unwavering protector.
A protector.
Right. It is absolutely not a tyrant. It is a devoted provider. It is the part of your psyche that steps up and says, I see the beautiful vision my feminine side has created, and I care about it enough to protect it from the chaos of the world.
Also powerful.
It provides boundaries. It leads without needing to dominate. It is kind, but it is unflinchingly firm. It is the psychological faculty that literally grounds your ethereal dreams into the gravity of reality so they don't just float away into the ether.
Wow. So when the feminine is highly activated and you use your secure masculine to build a fortress for her, that is the masculine doing exactly what it was always biologically and energetically designed to do.
Exactly.
It's the strong, safe container for all that volatile, beautiful, creative energy. You know, reframing it that way completely dismantles the dread of getting to work on your goals.
It really does.
Because sitting down to do the hard work isn't a punishment for lacking faith. It is an active, loving protection of your dream.
It is honoring your own vision enough to pour the concrete and build a house for it to live in.
That is brilliant. And that brings us to the ultimate takeaways from the material you shared with us. When you strip away the jargon and really digest the mechanics, the message here is incredibly empowering.
It really is.
It serves as a reminder that you are inherently biologically capable. If a dream or a profound desire has taken root in your heart, it is only there because you already possess the dual faculties required to birth it into reality.
You have the feminine vision to conceive it.
And you have the masculine structure to build it.
But the universe demands a co-creator.
Hmm.
You cannot spiritually bypass the physics of the world to get to your dream life. It requires you to be an active participating architect in the physical realm.
Absolutely. So to you listening, who sent us down this fascinating rabbit hole, it is time to get deeply in tune with your inner initiator. Stop waiting passively for the car to magically drive itself to the destination. Give yourself permission to let your inner masculine step out of the dark closet, get behind the wheel, and rigorously support your inner feminine's beautiful vision. You have all the tools you need in the toolbox. Now you just have to pick up the hammer.
And this raises an important question to leave you with.
Let's hear it.
We have spent this entire deep dive analyzing how every physical action you take is a literal, energetic vote cast for your new reality. But I want you to consider the inverse of that equation.
Okay.
If your daily actions are votes, what specific reality is your inaction and your procrastination actively manifesting for you right this very second? What future are you cementing into place by choosing to do nothing?
Oh, man. That is the exact question that changes everything. Remember, you can visualize the perfect reality, you can regulate your nervous system, and you can map out the quantum field all day long. But if you refuse to turn the key in the ignition, the engine stays cold.
Right.
The universe rolls out the road, your feminine supplies the premium fuel, but your masculine has to grip the steering wheel and drive.
Oh.
Embrace the beauty of your vision, but more importantly, embrace the power of your drive. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.